Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangerosa and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. This time I'd like to talk about FinalRender rendering engine again from Sebas, and I'd like to talk about the FinalRender proxies. In the past, we done some tutorial about using multiscatter to create trees and vegetation. And this software use the proxies in MinterArray and VRay. And the proxies is a really nice technology. So you saw that we had in multiscatter just some boxes or some proxy in viewport to visualize all the trees. And the mainly problem will be solved with proxies is the amount of memory and used to manage all the models and the space on the HD for the scene storage. You see that, for example, we have this tree model and we are talking about 1 million polygon, so a really huge polygon count for just one model. And if we use this one, it's not a problem because we are using just one model, so we have 1 million polygons. But in case we are, let's save it, we are trying to create a scattering. Let's imagine that we have a plane, and let's do it a little bit bigger. And let's imagine that we like to have the trees all over there. We can use a really simple scattering using the scattering 3ds Max. Sorry, but I had a crash, so we can use the scatter. So let's select this one. We can just move the pivot in a really fast way there on the at the bottom. Then we can go in the compound, select scatter, and we use as distribution this one. So it's not a problem actually the position, because we are not working on a scene to do something like that. But the important thing is that let's give a standard material to this one. Okay, that's right, because we are doing the scattering, so let's go in a shaded. Okay, so we can see just the plants. So let's select the scatter, and you see that we have just one polygons, just one model, and we can obviously make some copies, and we are giving more complexity to the scene, and you see that it is starting to be really slow. Actually, you see we had to wait a lot to have this preview, and imagine what we have to do to create a lot of trees in this case. So that's not the best way, and it is better to use another way, and that's why we can use the proxies. So let's go back there. Okay, we have no scattering, we have just a tree. And you see also, if we pick this one and we make, let's say, 10 copies, you see that it is really slow. You see, and we have just 5 million polygons, so that's not the best way to work. First of all, you have to be sure that you have FinalRender stage 1 as production render. Then you can go, because obviously the FinalRender proxies can be rendered just using FinalRender. It's not possible to use MinterArray or VRay, but you know that MinterArray and VRay have its own proxy technology. You know that we have the FinalRender meshes. In the past we worked a little bit with FinalRender Ocean. You see that we have also scattering and we have the proxies. So that's the proxy. I can create a proxy there, and you see that we have actually nothing. We can go to zoom there. So we have the proxy and the tree. How you can use the proxy? The proxy must be saved in a file format that is usable by FinalRender. So in the scene you'll have just the proxies, so the scene will be really simple to manage, and the proxies will be rendered just at render time, so everything will be really simple to do and really fast, and that's really a good way to work with the stuffs. You will save a lot of memory, and the scene will be really fast because everything is just in the HD, and you have complete control because you can use animation, because the animation can be saved, and you can use all the shaders you need, etc, etc. The only problem you have is that you cannot make changes to the proxy. I mean, you cannot use the modifiers. There is just the skew modifier that can be used, but it's not so useful. So if you need to use modifiers on the model, you have to do the changes on the original one and resave the proxy. So it's better to have always a backup of the original meshes. Let's see how we can create the proxies. First of all, I like to remember you that if you are rendering the scene with the proxies, you have to set the acceleration in a different way, and I mean, you can use the dynamic MSP because it is not compatible with the proxies. So you cannot use this one. You have to use the scene MSP. That's the only thing you have to remember when you are using the FinalRender proxies. So let's go back. Let's see, for example, what happens if we are rendering this one. Let's say that we have the global illumination and we have the physical sky with the sunlight, the show sky environment, and that's okay. The time we'll do nothing there to optimize the scene because it's not important. The only thing I like to do is to use for the moment a really fast preset to speed up the rendering. So let's render. This resolution is wrong, so let's stop it. Let's use our usual resolution, and let's render. You see that we are using just one tree, and it takes a little bit of time to be computed. I have to check again the resolution because it was blocked. Let's change the timing just to have a different illumination. So let's imagine what we have to do if we have to imagine a scene where we have all the trees inside. It will be really amazing, and it will be really heavy to be done. So let's go back and let's see what happens if we have the proxies. The proxies, you see, we create the proxy, then we have to select the source object, and I mean we'll use the tree. If you use the X button, you can remove the object you just selected. So then we just choose the objects. Then we have to save the object. So write object to file, and let's say I will save in a temp folder there, tree proxy FR. So it is asking if we like to save just the current frame, the active time segments, or the custom range. That's the possibility to save the animation. So inside the proxy you will have a deformation and animation made by hand or using the modifiers or whatever else. And it's really interesting because, for example, you can simulate the wind, making some animations on the tree, and then you have the animation inside the proxy. Okay, we can save in this way, so we'll do nothing. You see that we have just the preview generation there, and you see it's the possibility to include the preview inside the proxy and to zoom to the extent just the single objects. Let's say okay, it is writing and preparing a preview, you see, so it's as a rendering. So now we have the tree there, so we have a copy of this one, so you see we can move it where we need. We can, for example, put it there, and you see that we have there the possibility to scale it, so it is completely controllable there, and you see that it is loading the proxy material. In the display, we have the possibility to decide how many vertices will be displayed. With more vertices, we'll have the possibility to have a better look for the image, you see. But obviously it is really faster to use a proxy in viewport than the original one. You see that we have the possibility to use just this one, or the point clouds, or show the bounding box, or just the bounding box. So you have many possibilities to control the visualization. There we have the preview of the single objects and the animation. We created no animation, but in case you have the animation saved inside the proxy, you see that we have the animation support on, means that you are using the animation stored inside the proxy file, and you see how many frames. So you see just one, because we saved just one frame. Then we have the replace speed to control the speed of the animation, the frame offset to start before or after the first frame in the animation, and the possibility to have the ping pong replay, so the animation will continue in the ping pong version if you have a bigger animation there. Let's say that we have no animation. Let's see what happens if we render now the animation. It is updating the objects, loading the instance, and then you see it is calculating, and we have just 1 billion polygons because we have just the first mesh, but at render time we have the second one too. And that's really amazing because we have no more polygons. I had just a problem because you see I selected just the foliage and not the entire object, but it is not a problem, and it's just to see how many stuffs we can have in a viewport. And that's really interesting because you see the scene is really fast and we have no more polygon inside. So obviously if we have more and more, and I'm just doing, you see, copy using the shift key, we should have 5 times polygons than before, but you see it is preparing the first object and then it is updating, and that's really fast, and we had 25 seconds before, and obviously we have just more render time due to the more stuffs to be rendered there, but we have always the same faces, and that's really nice. You see we have 7 objects, so we have 6 trees, but we have always the same memory saved. So that's a huge step forward to rendering complex scene. Obviously the rendering will be a little bit slower because we are using the proxies, and that's obviously, but that's really fast, and you see just 4 to 5 seconds and no memory problems. So let's select this tree and let's raise. How it works to work with the material. Usually it is really simple to work with the materials for the proxies with the other technology and plugins we have for 3ds Max. For FinalRender proxies it is simple, but we have more possibility, and in any way that's a nice way to work, because we have one way that's really simple, all the materials are stored inside the proxy file we saved on the HD, and that's all. So if you have to change the material, you have to change the material inside the original one, so you have to save these objects there, and you have to work on the material, resave the proxy, and then reload it. There is another way, and that's the possibility, for example, to use the xref material as, let's see also what we have there. You see that we have no possibility actually to pick the shader there from this one, but we have the possibility to pick from the original one. And so a simple way can be to, you can imagine also that you have no object there, but I like also to make changes. So let's attach this one so we can have the complete meshes. Attach, okay, and there, let's save that the object is this one, save. It is writing, obviously it is a little bit slower, you see. Okay, we have it. So now we should have the complete tree. Okay, we have it. Obviously the rendering is really poor in quality, but you see we have both trees with both objects. We have the bark and we have the foliage. Let's close. If we have no more tree, original tree, you can also delete it from the scene. Actually, you see we have just, it was really fast, just 32 seconds, because it's loaded from the HD and rendered. Just that. So you see it's really fast. Okay. So we were talking about the material. Another way you can do is to, you see we can't pick it, but you can, for example, create in the standard an xref material. Let's see there what we have. We have this multi-material there, and that's created just for the original one. And you see there we can pick the file name, so we can choose the original mesh, the tree where you have the tree, the original tree inside, and then select which objects you like to select the material. So in this way you can just open the old tree, change the material, and automatically in the scene where you have all the proxies, the material will be automatically updated. And that's really simple and really interesting way to obtain this interesting tool. So the various stuffs there are really simple. So I can imagine that if I'm creating, let's imagine if we can do something like that. That's the first time I use particle flow to do something like that, but I can imagine that it can be done. So let's say that we have at 0, let's say 15 particles. The position is a position object, so let's go for position object, or we can use another way, but first I like to see this one. The emitters one is the plane, lock on emitter, and we'll have it on the surface. Then the shape, let's say that we have, okay, the rotation, we have no speed, and the shape is a shape instance, and we'll use okay, it's not possible to use the FinalRender proxy. So to be something really fast, you can imagine to do something maybe using thinking particles, or for example, you can use, let's go in FinalRender, the FinalRender scattering, you see, and let's create it. Then there, it crashed again, so let's recreate again. We'll not check how the FinalRender proxy there scattering will works, but we can choose the proxy file we created before. Then we choose the distribution. So you see we have the trees over there. Let's see what we have. We have 35 trees. It is updating the objects. So the scattering is over, and you see I'm rendering a test with I have a totally in scene 20 or 30 trees, and in this time you see we are working on let's see, in a good way there. We have no anti-alias, but it was really fast to be created, and you can make some tests using also more stuffs. So we are using millions of polygons, but everything is going in a really fast way, and the memory footprint is really low. So that's an amazing technology to create amazing scene with a lot of massive amounts of objects, and with not so much memory, and with not so much amount of rendering time. So we'll wait for the rendering, but in the meantime I stopped the recording. The rendering will take a little bit, so I'd like just to say that for the moment that's all. Obviously in the future we'll see also the FinalRender scatter to see how we can use the proxies to create some scattering with a huge amount of objects inside the scene. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on MaxCookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com. Bye.